Hello, welcome to the Matchbook Racing Review with Don McLean and me, Tom Stanley, reflecting on all the G's, Goodwood and Galway from last week. And we're going to start, Don, with, well, some sad news in reality, because we were all set up to talk about Two Donn Hot in glowing terms, and we still shall. But sad news, Don, as we've basically just found out that Two Donn Hot won't race again. Thankfully, he's going to be okay, but he's suffered a hairline fracture, and it means he's going to be retired to stud. Ultimately, they're going to be happy that they got a couple of Group 1 wins out of him this year because it's going to enhance his stud value. He'll go to stand at Dalham Hall. So sad news, but he lives on and his progeny will be interesting.
Yeah, no, it is a pity, Tom, because he kind of polarized opinion at the start of this season. Like there was no disputing how good he was last year as a 2-year-old. This year, he kind of didn't have the ideal early part of the season. Even John Gosden said maybe he shouldn't have run him, come over here to run in the Irish Guineas after running in the Dante. But then he got back on track with the Prix Jean Prat, and then obviously during the week on Wednesday, I think it was, in the Sussex Stakes, he was very, very good. And for me, that performance said that he wasn't just a precocious 2-year-old. Like I was against him on Wednesday because I just thought that Prix Jean Prat maybe wasn't the strongest of Group 1 races, and he had to go and do it again. And he was backed as if he would, and he went and did it. So I think he's a robust Group 1 3-year-old colt for sure. Look, it's a real shame because he would have loved to have seen him gone on, and the Breeders' Cup Mile at the end of the season would have been made for him. I thought so. Yeah, it's a pity that he's gone, but as you say, it's just not racing again. He goes to stud, and I suppose there is a degree of satisfaction that he got that Sussex Stakes Group 1 into him, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly after France, as you say, that he won a race like the Sussex, which was, those were always the races that we hoped he was going to win as a 3-year-old, based upon him being the highest rated 2-year-old since Frankel. He's still not going to go down as the 3-year-old he could have been, because I think there's still most would see his season as slightly underwhelming based upon how it started. But fair play to John Gosden and Connections for holding up their hands and saying, I think the only thing they'd probably look back and change, and maybe they'd change nothing because he's won a Sussex. They went down the Dante route, and based on his pedigree, that seemed the right thing to do because he was always likely on pedigree, although not necessarily on the precocity he'd shown as a juvenile and his size, to stay 1.5 miles. It didn't quite work in the Dante. Then they went for the Irish Guineas. Now, I think that's probably the one, the Irish Guineas, where John Gosden had said, I think he used silly twice in the same sentence when talking to Dave Yates on Racing TV. So maybe he thought it was a bit silly to have done that with hindsight. But what it does show is the mark of the man and the trainer that he is, because you've got your Enables and your Stradivariuses, and they are brilliant training performances. Of course they are, but in some ways they're the more obvious ones. To get this horse back I think is superb. And, he's got his couple of Group 1s. Everyone at Dalham Hall and Team Godolphin, or Darley, will be absolutely delighted with that because he's going to go and stand there. And he got his season back on track. The Sussex seemed to be made for him. They didn't go a huge pace. He was going to track it, and he put his speed to good use. And I agree, Breeders' Cup Mile would have been ideal, but it's not to be. And his offspring are going to be interesting because they're going to have that stamina in there on his dam side, but he's clearly going to inject a lot of pace into them as well. So we'll have to wait a few years, but it's going to be interesting.
We will, yeah. Which is, you kind of, it's when his 2-year-olds appear, then you go, oh yeah, remember Two Donn Hot? Remember how good he was as a racehorse? But like we've spoken about Two Donn Hot quite a lot this season so far, actually, and he hasn't run that often. He's run often enough, but not as often probably as the amount of time we spent talking about him should have dictated. But yeah, look, even at the time when he ran, they had to go the Derby route, didn't they? They really had to have a go, and it seemed like it was a rush to get him to the Dante, and then after that to come to the Irish Guineas. Even at the time, I remember kicking it around with you and thinking, definitely against him on the day, because coming back from 10 furlongs 9 days after the Dante to run in an Irish Guineas, it wasn't the ideal prep. And as you say, fair play to John Gosden, he said afterwards that it probably wasn't the wisest thing he ever did. But no, you have to hand it to the trainer and the horse, and we're handing everything to the rider these days, so we may as well hand it that as well, to get him back. And I think the Sussex Stakes, it's a strong Group 1 race. It's an all-age mile race, and it was quite strong this year. I think Circus Maximus I still think he might be an underrated horse for all that Phoenix of Spain maybe underperformed. and it was a good performance by Tudor. He always looked like I watched it from Galway, but I watched it again this morning. He always looked like he was in control of the race, didn't he? Like it always looked like he was going to go and win it.
That is just, that I don't wish to after time too much, but I think around about the Irish Guineas time, I said that. In fact, it was after that. I said, I hope they skip Ascot and come back for the Sussex. I think that'll be made for him. And ultimately, not that I steamed in at 6-4, or sorry, 5-4 or whatever it was. I have to say I didn't. But an easy mile and a race where it wasn't going to be the biggest field. Either Phoenix of Spain or Circus Maximus was going to go forward. It was always going to suit. And the fact you've got a St James's Palace winner in there and a Guineas winner in there, an Irish Guineas winner, it says it was an up to scratch renewal, and it was ideal for it. But we won't see him on track again. But they've answered some questions with him, and they've sort of banished some demons of this season, which is great to see. I'm not sure where we are with Phoenix of Spain personally. Now off the back of that, I has to rate disappointing. It was such a taking performance in Ireland, and he's just not got on. I don't know if anything's come to light and anyone was watching screaming at me, then I apologise, but I don't think it has. But it was disappointing.
Yeah, I backed him actually, and yeah, I thought he was the value of the race. I thought maybe he would do it. He did it the courage, just get out in front and kick on. And Goodwood does lend itself to that style of racing, but no, he was beaten a long way out. I mean, even before he was passed, you could tell that Jamie Spencer wasn't overly happy on him, and he was passed and he faded, and he didn't even stay on like a horse. I remember on Irish Guineas Day when he won at Charlie Hill, talking about dying to step him up to 10 furlongs, but he didn't stay on like maybe he will be better over 10 furlongs. But yeah, I think he has to go back and do it again now. Like his Irish Guineas run was fantastic, really, and his juvenile form. I know he was a 20-1 shot on the day, but in hindsight, given that he won the Irish Guineas, you could justify it that he would win an Irish Guineas because he wasn't that far behind Magna Grecia last year. He wasn't that far behind Too Darn Hot, and to progress and do what he did on his seasonal debut this year. So it wasn't a where did that come from 20-1 shock. It was that kind of makes sense now that we know he won it. But no, his next two runs have been disappointing. So he has to go and do it again now.
And I thought Circus Maximus ran the sort of race that plenty thought he might over that mile, and a stiffer test is always going to suit him, I think. I think Too Darn Hot is a sign that pedigrees are crucial, but you can never get too carried away, as I often do. And I look at the page and go, won't stay or will stay. And he was a horse that it said he would stay a mile and a half, perhaps, given what his mum and his sisters did. And he is a Dubawi, but it didn't quite work out like that. I'll make that loose connection to Pina Tubo, who was a stunning winner of the Vintage Stakes. I mean, I thought he was my performance of the week, personally. The time was very, very good. It compared favourably to other times on the day, over that trip as well. The Group 2 on that day. The Lennox, it was quicker. He absolutely ate them alive, and it's good form. It's July Stakes form. It's proper form. It's the form he won represented in there. Royal Ascot form as well. Now I think he's a brother or a half brother to a mile and a half winner. On his downside, it suggests he'll get a lot further. He isn't the biggest. He's a son of Shamadal. It'd be interesting to see how he develops. He's clearly precocious enough. He's anti-post favourite for the Guineas. Charlie Appleby's been here before with horses that Gaiath and the horse last year who won the Group 1 in Ireland, whose name's just flown out of my head. Porto, thank you. And they didn't get there. Not that there's a developing trend or anything necessarily, but I just mean with regard to the sort of prices knocking around about him, I'd just be wary of getting stuck into him for a Guineas. But for now, whatever we think he's going to go and achieve, he is the best 2-year-old for me we've seen on track.
Yeah, it's hard to dispute that. And honestly, all there in a nutshell, he was impressive in the Cheshire, but yeah, to go and do it again, and even more impressive and to beat Lupi Fernandez, who's probably improved himself from the Cheshire by more than he beat him at Ascot. And then Visionary in behind as well. Visionary, he's another. We're looking forward to seeing him stepping up to 7 furlongs, weren't we? Like from the July Stakes when Charles Johnson said that they probably should have run him in the Superlative instead of in the July Stakes at Newmarket over 7, back over 7. Just he was put in his place by Pinatubo, so he has to go and do it again now. But now Pinatubo, he just keeps on progressing and keeps on moving forward. And I know he's short for the Guineas, there are plenty more juveniles to come out, and there are obviously, as we see every year in the early part of the 3-year-old season, last year's 2-year-olds progress, and I think betting on the Guineas, betting 2 Guineas is fraught with all of that. The changes that adolescents make from 2 to 3. So, but for now, he was seriously impressive. There's an awful lot to like. His attitude as well. Like he's got a great racing attitude.
Yeah, and the ground, I don't think matters a huge amount to him. I wonder where they'll go. I think they'll probably stay over 7, and I think that'll be how he develops this season. I'd half expect them to go. Charlie Happy to go to Ireland with him. I wonder if they see him as a Dewhurst horse. I'm not sure. He did that with Emotionless a few years ago, but he sort of developed a bit later on in the season. He's got it all at this stage. But I would mention Visionary in a similar vein. There's all the times, lads, of which I'd happily put myself in that category because I pay a huge amount of respect to those. We're talking about his debut performance, Visionary. But then Jim McGrath put on Twitter in response to a lot of talk about that. He said times, they're crucial as they are, and he works for Timefall. He worked for Timefall, but he also made the point that visually you can see this is a weak horse. This is a leggy animal who's going to need time. And you can see that with your eyes. So I think you've got to put those two together. Visionary, he did it on debut at Lesser Company and was good on the clock. But he does definitely need time. And he was up against a better, sounder 2-year-old physical specimen, and probably a few of them as well. Yes, he was outclassed, but there's still a good horse in there for all he wasn't up to Pinatubo on the day. So Pinatubo was brilliant. And that was also the day that Stradivarius won. And yes, I took him on again, and I'm never ever going to do it ever again. He's going to win every race he runs in, and he's second coming of the Stayers division. And that's it. I'm done. I just give up. I give up.
Yeah, funny. I didn't take him on this week for the first time in quite a while, and he didn't even hit a flat spot through the race where it looked like he was vulnerable, like he often does. The whole way through, he looked the most likely winner, and. Yeah, at some point you just have to hold your hands up and go, he's very, very, good. I'm not taking him on again.
I made the argument with you that I fancied DXB against him, and I confess when I put that up on here on our review looking ahead to Goodwood, I hadn't actually backed DXB, and I got into it on the morning and I thought, right, how's this market going to develop? And he went so short, Stradivarius. I thought, well, that's easy. I'm going to have 4.5 and 8.0 on side about cross counter and DXB against Stradivarius, and if he's going to lose anywhere, I think it's here. So I laid him on Matchbook, and I thought I'm happy with that. And at no point did he look like he was going to lose. At no point whatsoever.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he's just getting. I don't know if he's getting better, but he's getting. He seems to be getting more professional with experience in that flat spot wasn't apparent on Tuesday, and we know he's proven it. I think that's his 3rd Goodwood Cup, isn't it? That's 3 now.
The only horse to win consecutive Goodwood Cups. Double Trigger won 3 in 95, 97 and 98.
Right.
He had a gap.
Yeah. No, he's just, I think we need to give up trying to take him on and just watch him and appreciate him. He's brilliant. He's such a, he's the best there since Yates, isn't he? Like Yates won 4 Ascot Gold Cups.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I think he is 100%. And I hope they keep going with him.
Yeah.
Just win £1 million every year.
It'll be only $500,000 next year.
Yeah, I'd be like, we're going to stop this. I love it. They brought on that bonus just as Stradivarius appeared on the scene, but they're happy about it for the publicity, etc.
It was never won before, was it? Not that there wasn't a financial incentive to win it, but there's still the races that you're going to go for, and you think there's never been one before. It's going to be as difficult as the steeple chasing Triple Crown because they're all 3-mile chases. This is the staying as far as you can go on the flat. So to be able to, it'd be different if there were 3 sprints. They'd be a little bit more easier to win. You would have thought, but to win 3 staying races like he did last year and like he's probably odds on to do this year, it's an incredible achievement for a horse.
Yeah, I hardly see the Lonsdale Cup being the place he comes unstuck. So there you go. Talking of 3 wins, you like this for a link, Don?
That's a good link, and I know where you're going with this.
Where am I going? One called Poet.
You go to Galway.
Wow,
Yeah.
What a horse!
Yeah, yeah, quite astonishing, really, because he's a horse who he's 7 years old. He's had lots of running. He's a horse who, I mean, even listen to Matthew Smith afterwards, after his first win, he just needs to before this week, he just needed to get there and drop his nose on the line. And Billy Lee, I thought on the first night, was brilliant on it. Like he just delivered him, and actually halfway up the home straight, you could see he just didn't go for everything. He kind of held on to him a little bit and just got up and won by a neck. And then the next night, over 1.5 miles, which was arguably a more appropriate distance for him, was a mile the first night. Billy Lee, similar again, rode him, not with the same kind of exaggerated weighting tactics, and he went and won his race. He won by a length and a half or a length and 3/4 in the end, which was quite an emphatic victory for him. And even Matthew Smith said afterwards that you could tell he really wanted it. And, whatever impact a race course or an occasion or a victory has on a horse, it just seemed to crown him. And he like that, just the hill at Galway, he just devoured it. And then the next day, going back over 1.5 miles again, another £6. So that he got a £6 penalty, then he got another £6 penalty, so he had £12 extra to carry, and he was even better. And even going to the home turn, Billy Lee, he took him back on the run, like what about 3 furlongs out, 2.5 furlongs out. He took him, and I was kind of thinking, geez, he's got a lot of ground to make up now. But then he took him out and he won by 5 lengths. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And Matthew Smith said then that he should have put him in on Sunday as well, because he'd have won then as well. He came out of his box on Sunday going, okay, where am I going? When are we going racing? Unbelievable.
And he was hardly a prolific winner, hardly a prolific scorer before that. But they just, have they basically had a touch and laid this horse out for a few races at Galway? If they have, fair play, but how have they, what's happened? How has that happened?
I don't think so, Tom, really. Like, I don't think it, I think, look, in fairness to Matthew Smith, he's like really good trainer. He got him there, got him at concert pitch, ready to go. But there's been no laying it. Like, he's a horse who he seemed to stop when he got to the front. Like, he only just does enough and sometimes doesn't get there. So, and he's running hurdles and chases even. He's running 2 steeplechases. So, to get him to Galway, just to get him there, I think what Matthew Smith achieved was getting him there in the form of his life, in really good form, and then teaming up with Billy Lee, who gave him the perfect ride on the first night. And then just when the horse won, he seemed to click and seemed to go, wow, this is enjoyable. And then the next night, and then you could see him on Saturday, just the enthusiasm with which he went forward. And then he hit the front, and instead of looking around him and waiting, he kept going, and he was very, very, just very willing and strong all the way up the hill, and fantastic. And that's off the £12 higher mark than he was the first night with his 2 £6 penalties. So, and why not? You kind of think Galway's his track now, because that's where he has come alive. But at the same time, it just might be that now he's got into the winning habit, and now he's enjoying it, and psychologically, obviously he's in a really good place. So, why not go and kick him on and have a go at a Premier Handicap at a different track?
Galway Plate was a good race. It got exciting late on for the Brits as well as the Irish. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I felt sorry for Bryony Frost, first of all. Like, she gave Black Courtin a hell of a ride. And even talking to, I was working with Ruby Walsh on the day, he was saying afterwards that when she got to the front over, those last 2 fences in the dip, she got to the front of Black Courtin and going around the home turn, she waited. The temptation, especially not having ridden at the track before, the temptation is, this is the home turn, it's only a furlong and a half of a home straight, I'm going to kick. And she didn't. She sat in front, which Ruby said was exactly the right thing to do. And then she got into the home straight, and a loose horse kind of carried her across towards the inside, whereas Boris went up the outside. Now, it's hard to tell. I think on balance, it probably didn't make the difference between victory and defeat, but at the same time, it would have been nice to see her, because it looked like she was heading over for the near rail, which is, it's a good place to be in the home straight on the chase track at Galway. And that's where Boris went. But the loose horse took her back to the centre, and it wasn't where she wanted to be. So, and she was very frustrated afterwards. In fairness to her, she gave a horse a hell of a ride to finish second on a Galway Plate. But legitimately she was thinking, what might have been if Liz hadn't carried her across. But Boris was a very good winner. Gordon Elliott's horse, another Simon Munir, Isaac Swade horse, who like he's had a go in the Thyestes chase and the Paddy Power chase earlier this season when Gordon got him for the first time. He was down the field in both. Then he brought him to Britain, won 2 novice hurdles for which he was long odds on, and then back for the Galway Plate, and bang! He was Antipo's favourite for a long way, but he wasn't favourite on the day. He was a little bit weak in the market on the day, but no. And for Luke Dempsey as well, the ride that he rides quite a bit for Gordon Elliott. The ride that he gave him was very, very good. And he's only 8. He's had plenty of racing, but not so much racing for Gordon Elliott. So he can improve again. I think the handicapper gave him £10 for the win. So he was 136. He's up 146 now, and you think the Grand National, that must be the aim. But he's got all those other handicap chases if he wants on the way, or else a couple of handicap hurdles and then straight to entry.
I mean, he's got the good thing for the Grand National anyway. I love talking about the Grand National in August.
Yeah.
Without blowing our own trumpets, although we should. In our preview, but Beat Le Bon I was, quite confident would go well. He won a competitive little handicap. You gave 0-10 a good mention as well in our preview, Dom.
Yeah, well, I mentioned probably 0-10 in the context of Emmett Mullins, but yeah, he was good. He won the beginners. He was a Touzon shot. He won the beginners chase that Emmett won last year with St Stephen's Green. We were down with him during the week, so I kind of find when you go and visit a trainer, you tend to be very positive about the horses, don't you?
You very rarely come away and go, no chance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it is kind of self-fulfilling because you go somewhere, you go and talk to somebody who you think have chances of, and then they say, yeah, we think we've got a good chance, and you come back and you they have a great chance. The worst one I ever did with that, I went to see Neil Mulholland about 3 years ago before the Cheltenham Festival, and we were talking about, I can't remember, we were talking about a couple of horses. Now, the horse, the Druid's Nephew, we didn't really mention. He said, because we didn't know it was going to run in the Ultima handicap chase, he said, do you not want to talk about the Druid's Nephew? I said, no, why? He said, because it's going to win the Ultima. And this was chunky double figures at the time. So anyway, we did a bit on the Druid's Nephew. I got home, looked at the form, and was like, good on you, Neil. It won, so that was great. Oh, what, 5-1 favourite or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, it was I think it was a bit more than that, but it was comfortably 16s, 20s when we gone to see him. So there you go. But yeah, he was 0-10 was good. What's that horse going to do next, you think, Dom?
That was a beginner's chase that he won. It was his first chase, and he kind of warmed to his task well. Like he should have. He's a very, very good hurdler. He won the big Red Mills final at Punchestown Festival, and he was only just beaten in the Grade 2. So he's a very, very good hurdler. He's very lightly raced. That was the first chase. He won it nicely. So I'd say, yeah, kick on chasing. He was entered in another, I think it was a Grade 3 novice chase the next day or 2 days later. He missed that. But no, he's an exciting horse, and there is room for improvement in his jumping. So he can improve as he gets more fluid in his jumping. But Beat Le Bon, he was a good winner, and you flagged him up before.
Well, fortunately, again, having known the work the yard had done with him, he was pretty good, to be honest. The mile was fine. I think the track's crucial, and he was always considered a good horse. But you need a bit of luck in winning a race like that, and he got it with some horses got a bit of trouble. He got a very good ride on the day from Pat Dobbs, who's excellent. If there was one horse that you were going to perhaps follow next time from Galway or Goodwood or keep an eye on going forward, 0-10. I don't know whether the something out the Galway hurdle or anything that springs to mind, Dom.
Yeah, Alec Tudor said he was great in the Galway hurdle, and Robbie Power was brilliant on him. And Tony Martin again, big race specialist to have a horse primed. The horse had run, I think he'd run 20 times over hurdles before that. To get him primed and win a Galway hurdle was great. Yeah, like 0-10 is definitely a horse to keep in mind for going forward. Alpine Star as well. She was great in winning the maiden, and it was a good maiden. She beat Santiago, who got good form with a well-regarded horse of Tony Mullins the time before that, Aidan O'Brien's horse. And yeah, she wasn't drawn that well either, but she was very, very good. And like, she's Alpha Centauri's sister, so she's not under the radar, but she's just another one of those Jessica Harrington juvenile fillies that could be. She's got some slew with Wind Racer and Albania, Kay and Pepper, even. Like, she's got some tribe of 2-year-old fillies to go forward.
She has had excuse me, a colt winning actually, because it was all. I think the first 14 of her juvenile winners were all fillies, but then she threw in sent out a colt to go out and win as well. But she's had a great season so far on the flat.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
Aidan O'Brien, interestingly, sort of didn't have the greatest Goodwood, but he still banged in a fair few at Galway. So there you go. But they were.
I think he did a treble on Saturday. He had 3 winners in a row on Saturday. Yeah, Willie Mullins had. I think Willie had 10 winners at Galway. So top trainer again at the Galway Festival, including Manella Bow. It was good. And there's a. I don't know if we discussed the Fillies Maiden last week. The Colin Quinn Fillies Maiden. It's a maiden that has been won in the past by Hermosa and Dance Design and Legitissimo, and really even I think Hydrangea was beaten in it. So it's a maiden that can be a really good pointer to the future. Petite Moustique won it, another filly of Aidan O'Brien's, and she was good in winning it. And she opposed form with Love and who beat Alpine Star at her previous run.
That's right.
So look, they're intertwining form links, which suggests that the 2-year-old fillies here are quite good this year. But Petit Mystique, she was good, and obviously that fillies race can be a good pointer to really top class races of the future. Yeah,
and Aidan also won on Saturday the race that he'd won with Broome the previous year as well. The trouble is, he always wins it with really good horses, so we're always going, "Oh, he won that with that one. He won that with." But I mean, and then about 5 show up in the Derby, so they're always all the Oaks, whatever. So they're always good. I'm just going to pick out a couple if I can to hopefully side that I will be supporting going forward from Goodwood. One of them, Desert Icon for William Haggis, who had a really quiet Goodwood, and whether they've just gone off the boil a bit. I'm not sure. He had a few favourites who, in some competitive handicaps, who were a bit below par perhaps. Desert Icon was really strongly supported. That was on the Wednesday afternoon in a 1.5 mile handicap. He lost his pitch. He never got involved. It wasn't a too bad to be true run. I'm convinced he's better than that. He won a good race at Salisbury, won by some good horses in the past. And don't give up on him yet. He might be a bigger price than expected next time as well. And also Outbox, who Rory Delaghe's been very confident about before. He ran really well on Saturday at Goodwood. He bumped into King's Shield, who was unbelievably game in winning that race. I think Outbox wants easier ground still. I don't think he was fully letting himself go on that ground. For all he ran into a very progressive and more experienced winner. He's in the Ebor, for example. I don't know if he'll quite get in, but I think he's got. I think he's won again. I'll definitely support him wherever he goes next. Particularly,
Outbox or King's Advice? Which?
Sorry, no, not King's Advice. Outbox.
Yeah.
I mean, the winner was brilliant, but Outbox, particularly if there's a bit of juice underfoot, I'm convinced he's still well treated. So I like him. That's it. I'm done. Donn, you anything you want to add? You happy?
No, it's been some week, hasn't it? Like between. I mean, you're at Goodwood trying to pay attention to Galway as well. I'm at Galway trying to pay attention to Goodwood as well. It's not easy, is it?
No, I'll be completely honest. I hardly saw any Galway, and then I was sort of playing catch up. And then when you said what you wanted to mention, I went and what I watched the plate and the hurdle and some of the stuff on Saturday. But otherwise, there's a lot going on.
They should be on different weeks.
It's never going to happen, but wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't that be lovely? We could work them both then, Donn.
Exactly, yeah.
Great stuff. Enjoyed that. Can't even remember what it is this weekend. Shergar Cup. We don't need to preview that. For all it's a bit of fun. Donn, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Tom.
Chat again next week. Thanks to those of you at home for watching. That was our Matchbook Racing review this week. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.